Hi guys, my name's Simon Adams, and I am the strategy and sort of DeFi tokenomics person at Audacity. A lot of you may know me from my days at Love for Crypto, and this is sort of a new decade version of what I used to do when I used to drop Telegram notes and all the rest of it into Love for Crypto's Telegram. So this is sort of my own version. We'll do the standard opinions of my own. You know, they don't represent Audacity's opinions, and this is just me and my opinion and why I sort of started a project and why I'm bringing to you a project that I enjoy with the rest of the team. So we've said from the start that we're going to be a community and we're going to do things differently. And I've just noticed that I'm playing with my screen here, which obviously you can see. As I say, this is new for me. I'm used to dropping a Telegram voice note. I'm not used to doing sort of anything in particular, so I just wanted to start this. The reason for Audacity is so many things. So, but the main reason I think is teams have really let users down. And we can all sit there and we can moan and we can complain. But at the end of the day, if we've got the ability to do something about it, I think we should do something about it. There's a group of us that think we've got the ability to do something about it, so we're actually going to do something about it as opposed to just say we're going to do something about it. And I want to sort of recap sort of my journey through DeFi, and this is what's brought me off the fence. You'll see, the video tagline in this is going to be sort of coach tag me in type thing, because I want it off the bench now. I've always been on the bench. I've always been in the background. I've always helped where I can help. But it's time for a more front-facing role for me, and we're going to take it from there. So my journey started with the DeFi space with Strong last year. I'm going to go through sort of like all of my stuff and all the rest of it that I've got here on my screen, which is just like three of the projects that I had a lot of faith in, and the teams, I think, are what let me down. I don't care about the token price. I've never really cared about the token price. It's always been sort of like when I make a decision, I look at the people behind the project, and when they start to shift and pivot, it sort of changes my opinion. And I just wanted to highlight that to you now. So obviously you can see here we've got Audacity. That's us. That's what we're building, which the node platform launches at the end of this month, which we're all really excited about. And I won't really go into much about this. So this is just obviously what we are. I am going to go into in depth in all of these things. I'm going to drop these videos like my old Telegram messages, which I think I'm going to enjoy as well when I get used to recording them. I've been told to keep them between 8 and 12 minutes long. So sometimes they may be a little bit longer, sometimes they may be a bit shorter. I'm going to try my best to keep it in a range where people can listen to them when they've got sort of 10, 15 minutes spare. And in general, just go through, the crypto markets and sort of like the projects and what I'm excited about and all the rest of it, as obviously as well as covering what we're doing as well. So as I said, back in the day, October, Strong, sort of my friends were in it from much earlier, and I sort of sat on the fence, and then everything sort of started to come out, RPC endpoints, supporting infrastructure. I was really excited. So David Moss obviously was the guy who did EOS. So I just thought, okay, I'll do some due diligence. I did some due diligence, and I liked what they were doing. So obviously I took the plunge. I invested, I think at the time it was about 25 or 30,000 pounds. And you'll see here now, obviously, I'm going to highlight that I've allowed my nodes to expire, but I'm going to go into that in depth as well. So I invested and then I compounded. So I brought 4 or 5 nodes back in sort of September, October, which cost me around about, I think it was about £6,000 each at the time. So it was about 30, 35,000. And then I compounded and compounded and compounded. So all in all, my strong, which I've been through my transactions and the market prices for those days and all the rest of it, strong represents a $175,000 investment for me, which I never actually took anything from really. So I took a few bits and pieces from it, but I never really, I just compounded. Um, and then we're going to go into Thor. So again, I'm actually going to switch the network so you can actually see it on the screen. I'm going to go into the Thor. So there's my nodes here. Review the nodes. So you're going to see exactly the same thing here. They're all inactive. I haven't paid the fees. And that's not because of token price. As I say, I'm going to go into it. And Phoenix again. So I'm going to go into Phoenix. So here we are with Phoenix. So connect wallets, wallet connected. So you'll see round one nest, you'll see expired. So, claim, pay fees, whatever, do everything with. So, and, these were all in and around sort of when it was at its sort of half peak as well, $300-400 each or whatever they were at the time. So, that's sort of some of my portfolio, so to speak. It's not all of them. I got rugged in Univ as well, and I've still got Vapor, which the team at Vapor to me is pretty strong. They're just plowing through, so they're ignoring the noise and just cracking on, and that's that. So the big call out for me was obviously strong was Ethereum nodes. We're not going to change sort of rewards. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. And then it was that massive pivot moment where they basically said that anything you've got that you've had for X amount of times, as soon as it's earned 20 tokens, it's dead. So if you take into account the fact that they were bought at like 6,000 and the token price came down to X amounts, and your return on investment was just going to be impossible. It would take me an absolute age to recover any of those sort of figures with this protocol now. Now, I'm not saying the protocol's not going to recover. To me, they've lost their community, and as soon as you lose your community vote, that's the same as that. Thor is exactly the same. The team started off strong. I brought my Thor nodes when they were like $200 a token, well, $150 a token. I wasn't particularly early again, but the market correction came. But the pivots and the constant pivots. So they went from really high rewards and really high returns just down to next to nothing. And as soon as you start making those decisions, you start affecting the market because there's no sort of standard there. Nobody knows what to expect. So then they're selling. And then they start introducing claim taxes, and they start introducing sliding claim taxes, and they just start introducing loads and loads and loads of features to preserve as many emissions as possible, when realistically they just baited in with really high emissions. The second it became obvious that the market couldn't sustain the emissions, they started dropping their emissions, which then angered investors, which then turns people around. And then, they had this idea with Gods of Asgard, which I think is still on the cards with Thor, which again is great, but they don't really own it, and it only uses the token for a certain amount of things, so it isn't really a fix for anything. And then we're on to Fire. Again, Fire was the same. It had pretty high emissions to start. Then it was always the plan to switch to this VC model, which they have switched to this VC model. Regardless of how the launch went and all the rest of it, the token went very, very, very high. And then sort of it couldn't sustain. And then they started making changes again. So it went from a DAO to being a sort of like donation to being, so they discounted their investors. It was supposed to be this whole community capital thing, which never ever got to the point of being community capital. And there's a lot of people that were very burnt very quickly with Fire because the price did go so high, and then unfortunately they did get caught in a bad market, and then they got bad press as well, which I added to that bad press. I was not happy about the ethics of the launch, and I wasn't happy about the decisions the team were making. But I still wish them all the luck as a team. They're still carrying on with their sort of vision of being this sort of incubator stroke VC thing, and that's all they can do now. So all they've got to do is plow through, and hopefully it'll come around. And like me, people will let their nodes expire, which will help the other users in the protocol. So the less of us that there is in there, the less of the emissions. And so, but the teams of, all of these teams here, to the point of this, they claim fees, and these fees are what keep the project going when they haven't got the token or they haven't got anything else. So the fees are what keep it going. So at one point, Strong were taking like $5 million a month in fees with their active nodes, and then Thor again, massive amounts of money. Even with their new reduced fees now, I still think they'll probably be taking like 150, $250,000 a month. Haven't worked it out exactly, but even at $1 a pop, and they've got like 60, 70, 80,000 nodes, you're still $80,000 on that one, and then you've got more on the Odin nodes. And Fire again, they openly need, they need their fees to continue to go. And there's no transparency into this at all for me, from my point of view. So the communication from the Strong team is awful, which it is. And the communication from the Thor team is it's better. So D2 sort of like communicates quite well. He's their community manager. But they've made investments into treasuries and stuff, and there's no clear guidelines on who actually own those treasury investments. And the same with Phoenix. They've made investments that, because of securities and compliance laws and all the rest of it, they've had to call their own. And there is no real clear guideline, again, who owns these investments. And that's my problem with the DeFi space in total, this whole DeFi as a service. If the protocols go away, who owns these investments? And it's, at the end of the day, it's been conscribed from users' money, i.e. their fees, and the treasuries have been built with fees, and who owns that? And that's a real sore sticking point for me. And we don't want to go down that line with Audacity. We're going to go down a different line, as in we're going to use this whole development as a service thing, and we're going to actually build these tools. Because once we build them and the community own them, then anything that protocol makes can be funneled back to the community, to the node holders, and even to the point of Gala. So I do hold the founders node as well. And again, I've got high hopes for them in the long run, but they're on this teeter edge where everything at the start was all about the founders nodes, and they were going to build an entire ecosystem around. And to me, they've just added on and added on and added on, and now you've got multiple nodes, multiple you've got your Townstar nodes, your music nodes, your film nodes, multiple currencies. So they don't really add that pressure and add that demand for the Gala currency at the moment. I'm sure in the future they've got plans for it with Gala Chain and how that's going to interact. But nobody knows. And that's another thing that, obviously these teams have got to play things pretty close to their chest, because they don't want to give away too many secrets and all the rest of it. But to me, that's a bit backwards, because it lacks on communication, which hurts your community spirit as well. So for me, this whole, we've got some exciting news coming soon, and we've got this and we've got that, it doesn't really work for me. I would prefer a more transparent approach with Audacity, where we'll just actually tell you what we're doing. We've got the NFT platform coming up, and that's because we believe, and this is like a replication of services that are available, and we understand that. So the difference is our NFT platform will use our currency. It will have multi-chain bridges. So even if you don't pay in our currency, it's still going to use our currency. So it'll just convert it internally. And so it adds demand for the node token as well. Also, I don't believe any NFT platforms cracked a decent user experience yet. UI and UX is really important. And I don't think they've actually got there with it yet. I find them very clunky to use. Which I'm going to go into more detail in the NFT video as well. We've got the DEX, again, using our token to either bond for an LP token or something. So it's going to create some sort of reach for our token and our tokenomics. So all of our phase one builds are designed and built around sort of creating a demand and an ecosystem for the actual nodes to live and exist in. And because at the end of the day, the benefits are going to go to the node holders, which are going to be central to all of our platforms. And that's the big thing about this video. So I've let all of my investments go, and not because of the token price, but because for me, the team stopped focusing on the community and what the community needed or wanted. And this is no disrespect to the teams. They're scrambling, they're panicking, they've got users demanding things, they're trying everything to get, but they're not putting, to me, they're not putting a great deal of thought into how do we actually build out of this? What are we going to do? And I think a lot of the teams now have just taken that breather and have actually started to put some structure in, which I'm excited about. And I'm wishing them all the best. I don't want to sit here and berate the other projects. I don't want to sit here and berate them because I don't think it's fair to sit here and berate them. But what I do want to highlight is that we need to make a change and we need to do things differently. I'm also a big believer in central finance as well as decentralized finance. I think the two can coexist very nicely, and I'm going to make some attempts on how to bridge that gap with decentralized know your customer rules, where our platform won't know who you are, but it will know that you've gone through a KYC process. And that way, if we do ship products out into sort of like the real world outside of Web 3.0, then if we do receive funds for them, we're going to have a compliant way of actually giving those funds back to the users because we know that they've KYC'd. So we know that we're not actually just giving something or money laundering or all the rest of it. So from that point of view, we're really excited that we're going to try and do some different things. But we don't want to let our users down. And for me, the users are always central. And I've always been that ever since Love for Crypto. It's always been about the people. So it's going to have to be about the people again. And Audacity is all about the people. So yes, we've got products. Yes, we're going to build products. Yes, we're going to branch out into the real world. Yes, we're going to do this. And yes, we're going to do that. But everything that we do will be focused in and around our actual users. So the users for all of the platforms that we build, as well as the users for the actual nodes, which are the center of our whole ecosystem. So this is my first video. So it's running a little bit long. I do apologize. But I just wanted to go through and say, right, this is why I've let my things die. It's a personal choice. So it hurt. They represent around about $200,000 in investments across the board that I just can't continue to support the teams by paying fees when I haven't got that faith in the teams. Now, hopefully they do pull things around, and hopefully we do get into this nice thing where their users, because I want their users to succeed, because at the end of the day, I don't want anyone to be hurt financially. And some of them I don't know if they will, some of them I'm pretty sure they won't. But time's going to be the judge of character on this one, and we'll just have to wait and see. But it's give us good hindsight of what we can and can't now do, and what we shouldn't do, and what works and what doesn't work. And I'm looking forward to the journey. I'm looking forward to the community. I really enjoyed my days back in Love for Crypto when we had that really nice, close-knit thing again. And listen, so we've all got things. So we've all got opinions, and no one, necessarily subscribes to the same opinion as me. So if you do, fantastic. If you don't, fantastic. I will always respect other people's opinions. I'll ask anybody that's within our community again to respect other people's opinions as well, because that's what makes the world. It needs everybody, and we're all in it together, so to speak. So I look forward to dropping the next video. These are going to be like my Telegram messages. I don't know if I'm going to do like one a day, one every other day. So I'm just going to keep them coming whenever I've got something to say or whenever anything pops in. But I would like, to build this around. It'll be on YouTube. They'll be posted in Audacity's Telegram as well as videos instead of Telegram voice notes. The YouTube channel will never be monetized. I will never promote a product. So I'll discuss things as always. And when stuff comes out, I'll discuss it. But, I'm never going to ever do that because that was one of the things with sort of YouTube and monetization in the first place, which sort of like wound everything down with me for LFC. And again, so take care and I'll see you soon.